Back to
This
a new
is
Charlie
the
White
Charlie White
Show
Show.
on the Indiana Talks Network on Monday. I think it's December 21st. Well, hope everybody, at least most of you, are off for the Christmas holiday week and getting your Christmas shopping wrapped up. A lot of you may have just started. Let's go ahead and get right to it. We have here actually, I saw this tweet from Kara Kinney on December 18th in the afternoon. Wasn't able to get a show up on Friday afternoon, but I did not want to forget to mention this. She had a story, and she said, remember the hole up on I-65? Kara Kinney from Channel 6 and ABC affiliate in Indianapolis said that she obtained an inspection report, and it shows the deck as satisfactory but borderline fair condition. Now, I told you last week about, it was widely reported about the hole on I-65 in Tippecanoe County, the same county where they had the shutdown of the bridge near Wadcat Creek, which, of course, that debacle, that totally rerouted traffic. And, of course, this actually stalled traffic quite a bit. They had to close one lane just in time for the Christmas holiday, the Indiana way. But this inspection report that Kara Kinney obtained, you can go on Twitter, look on Kara Kinney's account. I see the picture here, and yeah, I mean, she's right. And I guess this begs the question: whether it's an internal, full-time employee of the state that's doing inspections of our roads or bridges, or whether it's someone that's hired by a county, city, or state. These inspectors are educated, they're trained, they are supposed to be professionals, and they get paid to be professionals. They get paid by you. You pay for them to conduct this work. Now, just because it's up there in Tippecanoe County, well, I'm sure a lot of you that may be going up north, that may be going to Chicago, it's not just Tippecanoe County people that are paying for these inspectors, it's you. You're paying for them. And so I guess I have to ask the question that I ask over and over again, is this the way that you run government like a business? Is it the way? Since we've had so many butt kissers and minions within the media that have fawned all over Mitch Daniels that he ran government like a business. Well, we've gone on and on, on many different shows talking about how he ran it like a corrupt business. He ran it incompetently. He knew he could have done better. He has the mental capacity to do better, but he doesn't care enough. He doesn't have enough empathy to care enough about people, to care enough about their tax dollars. Now, talking about the pampered one, Governor Mike Pence. Well, they just simply do not have the controls in place within state government to make sure that the job is done. Now, I have no idea how you can have a report by an inspector paid for by the state of Indiana that says that a specific area is in fair condition, and with so little time later, you end up seeing that this big hole forms. It's sloppy, it's unprofessional, and again, whoever the company is, or the inspector, these people should be fired, or they need to be sent back to training or school. Something needs to happen, folks, because this goes to our safety. It goes to our safety. It goes toward how bridges and roads are inspected as they're being built to make sure they last, that they're spending your tax dollars wisely. And it goes to make sure that the road is continued. It continues to be maintained. Now, if I wanted to be extremely paranoid, then I might think that inspector might just say, well, it's kind of borderline bad condition, but he's going to write borderline fair condition because that may not trigger the state having to spend more money beyond the pittance that they were spending earlier in Pence's administration. So we could crow about the false surplus that I've talked about, $1.8 billion. I'm assuming he's just being incompetent. But it would not surprise me if people receive pressure to kind of say it's, if it's gonna be a tie, go for it being more, go for the bridge or the road being a little bit better than it really is, so they don't spend money because of the enormous pressure they've all had, especially under the Mitch administration, then throughout the Pence administration, the immense amount of pressure they've had to lie, cheat, and steal. I mean, would you have ever thought, think about this, would you have ever thought that they would have had a glitch in the B&V computer system going back to 2009, 2008, during the Mitch administration, Mitch Daniels administration? Would you ever thought they would have had a glitch in the system that they would have found out at a later time, and then they would have ignored it so they can keep taking your money, stealing your money? If any of us did this, folks, it'd be some kind of weird theft or conversion. But when they do it, it's okay because they've got friends. I get it. This is Indiana. It's the Indiana way. But if anyone would have told me, well, not me, but if anyone would have told a lot of just normal people on the street that the state would actually have had a bug in the system, and then they found out about it, and then they ignored it, and then they took extra money from you, they overcharged you on fees, and then when it goes into the next administration, they're aware of it, but they just let the same thing happen. It's because of that kind of nonsense, all the nonsense we've talked about on many fronts. That's why whenever I see something on the surface like a bad inspection report, and how can a hole form this quickly? How can an inspector be this idiotic to say a road is in fair condition and not long after that a big hole forms? Because when you get pressure, folks, I mean, I kind of look at it like this. If the godfather governor, if his governor's office is going to monkey around with data on child mortality, you're actually going to erase numbers that each number represents a real child that died. If you're going to lie about that, why wouldn't you just kind of, fudge a little bit when it comes to some of these reports so you can just kind of get past another year and not have to blow any money? Blow money basically doing your job because you want to just keep pumping up an artificial surplus. Because you want to put on a postcard because you got fantasies on running for president of the United States. So again, I just wanted to just point that out. It was a tweet I had forgotten about over the weekend, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned it. We have another story here that's a little bit laughable. Let me get on here. Anyway, but it's unfortunate that we have to have state officials once again that will not do their jobs. Oh yes, let me get on this one here. Oh, we have this is from Advance Indiana, Gary Welsh, from today at 3:58. The headline: the state of Indiana awarded $8.7 million. They awarded an $8.7 million loan to Indianapolis charter school with questionable finances. Now, usually, if you go to, say, a not-for-profit foundation and it's been around for a while, it's well-established, and you have a cause that you want to get money, many times you have to show how long you've been around, show them your programming, show them everything. You're going to have to give them a lot of financial information because they want to know how solid you are. They are fiduciaries. That board is a fiduciary over that money, whether that money came from, it was bequeathed to them by one or two people that they had passed on and they left their money to a foundation, or whether or not they get a lot of money just from a lot of individual donors, or maybe sometimes they might get some grants from the state, but they're a fiduciary of some of these foundations of millions of dollars. Well, if you're going to be a good fiduciary and you're not going to act like officials act in Indiana, you're actually going to watch every penny and run it like a business. Well, the people that want money, I'm not saying individuals, but organizations that want money, they're going to want to look through your information. They want to gather information about you to make sure that you're viable. Well, in this situation, we at this charter school, and let me start off with this with Gary Welsh. It's from today, and he writes, Indiana officials who boast the benefit of charter schools claim they are held to the toughest standards in the United States. But a loan state officials made to an Indianapolis charter school facing a precarious financial situation is raising concerns. According to the IBJ, Tinley Accelerated Schools received an $8.7 million loan recently from the state. A loan from the state, okay, which represented half of its annual operating budget. As the school faces a cash crunch and two of its most recent treasurers quit amid questionable spending by its high-flying CEO, Marcus Robinson. Haley Colombo's report says that the state loan, the largest of any granted under a new loan program offered by the state to charter schools, came as the school faced a cash crunch that caused it to eliminate some positions at its 6 schools, and Robinson faced criticism of his lavish spending on travel outside the state, where he's flown first class and stayed at first-rate hotels. In its application for the loan, the charter school system overstated its revenues. Really? Well, a lot of us folks, if we lied to a government entity about what we were taking in for revenues or expenditures, that would be tantamount to perjury. And you would be prosecuted. You'd have your reputation in tatters. But no, not these people. Obviously, they have, whoever these people are, and I guess we'll have to dig into this, they must have a lot of political clout to be able to get this kind of money, especially with the lack of any financial stability. And they have the CEO that likes to, I guess he likes to have, likes to enjoy the trappings, not of the trappings of a government official, but he enjoys the trappings of a CEO of a charter school. I hope I don't have to start repeating that. But let's go on here. And its application, let me restart here. Its application for the loan, the charter school system overstated its revenues, saying it needed additional money to, quote, buy more time to grow enrollment. What a bunch of BS. While it deals with a, quote, short-term cash crunch, some board members tell Colombo they are concerned about Robinson's management of the school and its ability to repay the state loan. Board members told Colombo that the charter school network planned to spend more it took in during each of the last 3 months. The IBJ was able to obtain credit card records of the school that showed its CEO spending lavishly during the past 2 years on first-class airfare and staying at luxury hotels like the Ritz-Carlton and Waldorf Astoria, like where presidents stay. The school network even billed more than $10,000 for personal fitness training of its staff, which Robinson told the IBJ they were too busy to use. The board's most recent treasurer, Eric Stovall, said he resigned because he wanted nothing to do with Robinson's, quote, unethical behavior. Quote, he was living lavishly when he was on the road representing Tinley, and that was inconsistent with the values necessary in order to serve the population we were serving, said Stovall, a managing director at a Chicago financial advisory firm. He said, quote, if you're a public company CEO, maybe that's okay, but a CEO of a nonprofit has no business staying at 5-star hotels and flying first class. Well, I could not agree more, Mr. Stovall. I'm glad you quit. The school network paid Robinson to frequently travel to New York, where he was completing work at Columbia University in his doctoral program. Well, isn't that handy? Isn't that handy? The 43-year-old Robinson claimed he needed to fly first class because of a back problem he had. Well, boo-hoo. I mean, why does he spend all his time going to New York for a doctoral program? I mean, if he doesn't have time to do his job, he shouldn't be in that position, right? I mean, when he's in New York all the time, is he doing his job? I mean, did he take leave? I mean, I'd like to paraphrase some idiots in my past life. I won't get into that, but let me see here. I lost my place here. John Neighbors a board member who is also a partner at Baker Daniels, the same law firm that serves as outside counsel to IPS, says the board has taken steps to curtail Robinson's future travel budget. He said, quote, "We don't feel he needs to do some of the travel he was invited to do. As much as he's become a well-regarded charter school leader, travel is not important right now because we need to be focusing on enrollment, how our schools are being run, and our academics." Oddly, when Colombo spoke to Tinley's board chairman, Jan Guffin, he claimed he was unaware of any issues about excessive spending by Robinson. Unaware. Well, you're the chairman of the board. You're unaware? What do you do when you go to these board meetings? So that's my point, folks. All these people that go to these board meetings, some of them are paid. And if you're the godfather governor, you get paid handsomely to be on the Holman board or this interactive intelligence board. You get hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit there. Now, what? All these big wigs, I don't care if they're the top 1% of the top 1%. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. They sit on these boards. Some of them are active, some of them aren't. But they get paid way too much. Way too much of the shareholders' money, and especially if they're in the government contracts. At the end of the day, they're spending way too much of your money, and that money should not be going into their pockets. So we have Guffin, the chairman of this board, who was unaware of all this lavish spending. Colombo notes that a recent State Board of Accounts report raised concerns about a lack of internal controls over financial reporting, management of outsourced bookkeepers, preparation of an accurate schedule of expenditures, and late submission of financial reports is required to provide the mayor's charter schools. It's required to provide these to the mayor's charter school office. Well, I mean, let's stop for a minute. Look at all the things I've already read. You have a chairman of the board who doesn't know what they're spending. He is completely unaware of the lavish spending. We have a CEO, is Marcus Robinson, who's running around working on his doctoral in New York. He's staying at the Waldorf Astoria, blowing money left and right, and there's obviously no controls over him. So why in the hell does the state of Indiana, and their wisdom, why the hell do they think they need to get an $8.7 million loan? And guess what, folks? Not only are they loaning your money, but who's going to cover it? Who's going to have to cover the loan when they don't pay the money back? You get double whacked. Now, I'm going to ask this again. If you are a fiscal conservative and you're listening to this today, tell me how the Pence administration are acting like fiscal conservatives in this situation. I mean, don't take me out of the equation. Take Pence out of the equation. You might love him or worship him, and he can't do any wrong no matter what he does. Well, I just want to know, how are you fiscally conservative? I mean, if you were doing this and you were a bank, act like you're not the state of Indiana, and you're actually a bank, and you're a loan officer. If you start handing out loans like this, your bank is going to go bankrupt. Your bank is going to have to be bailed out. Going to have to be bailed out, after which you'll have bank executives blowing more of that money instead of like shoring up the bank's finances, as we saw with the bailout back in 2008. But this is ridiculous, and this doesn't mean if it is the right situation. Every situation is different. It doesn't mean I'm saying that if there's a charter school that has great enrollment, they've got a great mission, they do good work, and for some reason they need a loan. And I'm not saying I want them to get a loan because they want to build more buildings so they can feed the pay trough pigs that want to build Taj Mahals for public schools as well as for charter schools. I'm not saying I want money for that. I want money to stay with the kids. I want to make sure they have good teachers and somewhat decent administrators. But I guess I'm wondering, by any measure, how is this even close to being fiscally responsible? It's not. When you have, whether it's a for-profit or not-for-profit company that enter your doors and they're looking for money, they should have been told no the very first second, and then they should have been given a list of things they need to work on so that someone doesn't start reporting them and they end up losing their charter school completely. And frankly, with the kind of, by by any measure, if it were you or me, folks, and you had someone whipping out the credit card, going to the Waldorf Astoria, if it were someone who has made the powerful people angry in Indiana, or it's someone who hasn't been powerful at all, if you did that, folks, it would be this amorphous theft. That's what it would be. It would be theft. So I guess I'm going to ask this question. It's a real easy question. If we're going to start acting like the way the state of Indiana likes to treat people, if this was in some amorphous way, unauthorized for him to stay at the Waldorf Astoria, unauthorized for him to spend all this time getting his doctoral degree, for Mr. Robinson, and it was unauthorized for him to spend more money on the first-class seats for his bad back. Well, is this not theft? And why is this man not being arrested? I'm serious, folks. This is the kind of weird amorphous, my case wasn't even close to this, but this is the kind of weird amorphous crap they did to me and they do to other people when they don't like you. They dream up things. I just want to know, when are they going to put the cuffs on? We're all going to be equal here. When are we going to slap the cuffs on him, take him away? Well, they won't. The reason why they won't is because they obviously have attorneys and they have connections. And at worst, they're just going to be, quote, kind of held accountable. And they'll have to go through some remedial measures to make sure they're actually watching their dollars. This is just wonderful. Knowing these people are going to have to, at the very worst, they're going to have to be like led by the hand like children to watch their finances because they aren't adult-like to handle them. And these folks are getting $8.7 million of your dollars from the pampered Pence administration, who claims to be fiscal conservatives. If you're not a social conservative, you're just a fiscal conservative, you better pay attention because they've been doing this all across the board. And they also did this kind of crap in the former godfather governor Mitch Daniels administration. They don't run government like a business. And you wonder why they have so many problems. They're doling out the lard to people that have unproven technology. They have a bad business model, but the one thing they have on their side is they have connections. Well, folks, having connections, I don't mind if it gets you in a door or if it gets you past a certain point. But just like that lady said, the Wendy's commercial, where's the beef? At some point, you got to open up that patty and show someone that you got something. You got some meat there. You've actually got a business. You actually have a product. You have something other than that you're connected to someone. Right? They should have something. But in honest to goodness Indiana, folks, they don't. There's no accountability. So once again, more charter schools not being accountable. Now there's another angle to this I just wanted to get out because sometimes these things are symptomatic of bigger problems. Now let's take a step back, folks. If you are the CEO of this charter school, let's say, and you're going to the Waldorf Astoria, and you are, and you're spending all this extra time away to do your doctoral because you think it's going to somehow, you getting more letters behind your name is somehow going to help you get more enrollment to take care of the immediate needs of the charter school that you run. And you're doing all this, presumably you're going to these classes in New York, and you're not sitting behind your desk. Well, why? Let me ask you something. Why would you think? Here's an honest, simple question. Why would he think all this is okay? Honestly, unless the guy's a complete idiot, unless Mr. Robinson is a complete idiot, he thinks he just whip out a credit card and just blow whatever money he wants. Now, why would he think this is okay? Well, there's a reason for that, folks. The reason why Mr. Robinson would think this is okay is because everybody else does it. Yeah, that's the answer. Maybe not everybody else does it, but a lot of people do that. How many stories have you heard over and over again? And we've said plenty of them on this show, where we've had mayors, county commissioners. If no one, in my county, the guy that put me where I am today, even though he doesn't have more than a high school education, he sure seems to have a thumb over the system. If you're going to let a man like Steve Dellinger spend half his year bathing, bathing in the, actually just, I don't know, wading. He's got such a pool. It's not even trappings of power. It's like just a pool of power because of all the procurements between the international airport, his minions that sit there and help to run the Lucas Oil Stadium. He's on the board of commissioners for Hamilton County with all the money they have up in Hamilton County where Carmel, Noblesville, Fishers, and Westfield are. If you're allowed to just simply have all the state local vendors pay for your creature comforts, like let you live half the year outside of Indiana, no one can afford that, folks. He doesn't have a real job. His only job is to be this little part-time commissioner. Obviously, everyone thinks that's okay. Everyone thinks that's okay, and they want to hang me from the highest limb for stuff that's legal. But then this man who enjoys the trappings of power, he gets to sit back in the back room and change all the rules for people like me. Okay, so if we're going to have people having their vacations being paid by state and local vendors in exchange for road and bridge projects and projects for the Indianapolis and projects for Lucas Oil Stadium and projects with Banker's Life and all this wonderful stuff, we've obviously not done anything to this man, and that's okay. We've had, in the past, a few years ago, we even had the executive director of the international airport lavishly spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, he left, but nothing happened to him. There was no charges of theft. And how many times have we even talked about the mayor of Martinsville using resources to help him and his family and his friends? Nothing happened. You call 911, they're not going to come get him. He's too powerful. We have people at the state. We've got the Pences taking over that place that they used to rent out, the Ames House in Brown County. They used to rent that out when I was at the DNR, folks. They used to rent the thing out. That's one thing that the Godfather governor's administration did right. We rented out the Ames House for people that wanted to pay to stay there. And, anyone who wanted to stay there, they had to pay. Now, of course, once Pence came in, he of course, needs more creature comforts. So the amount of resources he wasted to move enormous mature trees, move them and replant them in the back so that Mrs. Pence, a.k.a. Imelda Marcos, can have privacy, and they can spend all that money I talked about before on those especially wicker furniture up in Keystone at the Crossing to cart it down to Nashville. They blew a lot of money just on the Ames House alone. They got their vacations paid for to Europe last year and to the Holy Land. So if you're going to look at them, there's so many people, folks, in this state with positions of power that are either using public money or using vendor money to lavish themselves with creature comforts. Well, honestly, I'm not defending Mr. Robinson. I think he's an idiot. But when you have the culture around you, there's people doing it over and over again. It's just funny money. Doesn't matter what your party is. They just view it as funny money. Once you get that high up, they stop caring about you folks. Just blow the money. Makes them feel good. Makes them feel powerful. So, if they're all going to do that, there's a reason why Mr. Robinson thinks this is all okay. Because he sees other people around it. It's like a monkey. It's like monkeys that imitate other monkeys, or animals imitate other animals, or children imitating other children. This is bad behavior. It's learned behavior. So, folks, excuse me, that this is a system, this is a symptom of a bigger problem, what Mr. Robinson is up to here. And, of course, then here we go. Once again, we have more people on the board who don't know what the hell's going on. One guy quit that knew what was going on. The other guy's like, I have no idea. Well, why not? That's your job. You decided to take that position as chairman of the board. You have no idea what he was doing. Now, why would that be? Why would that be? So, frankly, if it were you and me, let me repeat, you and I would be immediately indicted or charged with some kind of amorphous theft, forced to pay restitution. That's the other thing. When's the man going to pay restitution? If you're going to charge a man with theft, when are you going to charge him with, when are you going to go after him and sue him for some kind of restitution? I bet that won't even happen. He won't even have to pay the money back. He'll probably pull a Mitch Daniels when Mitch Daniels, after Tim Durham stole $500 million from thousands of people, took some of those ill-gotten gains and put in the Mitch Daniels little campaign pocket, gave to aiming higher as well. They asked for Mitch Daniels to pay the money back. I have about a couple $100,000. He's paid about $3,000 back. And, of course, the media, I said, oh, Mitch paid money back. Well, no, they don't tell you. Put in a little fine print, oh, he paid $3,000 now, about $200,000 back. That's all they'll say. And Mitch just says, money spent. So, excuse me, this man has been learning from the system. He's been learning from these people that he's learning from all these people that, you know, if you actually had a lot of real reporters digging in for everybody. I'm not talking about just digging in Pence because you don't like Pence this year, okay? Digging into Pence because it's concerned. No. You need to dig into Daniels, dig into all of them. I don't care what the top 1% of the Grey Poupon crowd is for either party because they don't care about you. They don't. Believe me, they don't care about you at all. They'll take your votes. They don't care about you. They need to dig into everybody. And all this crap needs to stop. Because remember, the more money going into their pockets, the more money going into their vacations. I don't care if it's for a vendor who's there for the state or the local government. Eventually, they make most of their money from you, or if it's from government expenditures. The more money that flows into their pockets, the more money that goes into their creature comforts, is more money that you're not getting. It's more money you'll never see in terms of any type of tax relief. It's more money that teachers will not get in their pockets. It's more money that won't go into the schools, whether it be a charter school, public school, whatever. It's not going to reach the kids. It's not going to be able to keep good teachers from retiring early, and then we don't have enough teachers coming in because we have the elites expecting all of you to sign up to be teachers to get your meager wages. Oh, they'll go out and some of them don't care about you at all. Some of them will just mealy mouth it and act like they care about you. But at the end of the day, is your life going to change? Your life will change when they start running government like a business, and that frees up more money. There'll be more money to pay you. But you need to hold your public officials accountable on both sides of the aisle to make sure that there is plenty of money to get to you to keep you from retiring early. That's just like one example. I mean, this money takes away. I mean, folks, you may not think it's your money, but again, whether it's a vendor or not, state, local vendor for public projects that lavish creature comforts on these people, you are paying for it. They're not just taking this money out of their own pocket. They're adding it into the cost of doing business for all these projects. So some of that $8.7 million is going to have to go into trying to make up for what this idiot did when he wasn't doing his job working for this charter school. So, again, I mean, I know I went on and on about it, but this is like, again, the dirty little secret that all these wine and brie elitists downtown that are all friends with most of the reporters downtown, most of the media downtown, all hang out and, I mean, this is the thing, the dirty little secret they don't want to talk about. Because they just want to act like it's Vegas downtown, like whatever happens down there stays down there. And they don't want to talk about the fact that a lot of their creature comforts come from the government, directly or indirectly. So again, those that are alleged conservatives that want to get annoyed with me, you can always email me at indiesentinel@gmail.com and please explain to me why your way is even keeping up with your own ideology. Actually, all it is just allowing you to live like a king, but that doesn't make you a conservative. It just makes you a hypocrite, is all it makes you. Well, at that point, I'm done with my little rant on that topic, but at this point, we are going to take a break. This is the Charlie White Show on the Indiana Talks Network. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Badass Teachers Association gives voice to every teacher who refuses to be blamed for the failure of our society to address poverty and inequality. We are an education activist group of over 53,000 nationwide who are fighting against the destruction of public education. We are calling for an end to school closings, high-stakes testing, Common Core, lack of funding, and lack of resources for our children. Please join us in our fight on the web, Facebook, and Twitter. We're the BATS, the Badass Teachers Association.
Make it special. Make it Batora fine jewelers this holiday season. Come see why Patora's is consistently rated one of the best jewelry stores in Indianapolis. Patora's is located at 6010 West 86th Street, Suite 114 in Indianapolis, or visit them online at patorajewelers.com. And don't forget to like Patora's on Facebook to keep up to date with all their holiday specials. This holiday season, make it special. Make it Patora Fine Jewelers.
Ralph and Ava's Cafe and Catering, located just 15 minutes southwest of Indianapolis in Mooresville, is the only full-service caterer you need to call this holiday season. Let Ralph and Ava's take the stress off you. Ralph and Ava's will deliver, set up, tear down, clean up, and all you have to do is entertain your guests. Call Ralph and Ava's Cafe and Catering today at 317-834-9780.
At Roof Home Mortgage, we understand that every borrower is different, so we offer a variety of products to meet your individual mortgage financing needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, new construction, first-time homebuyers, reverse mortgages, and, of course, refinancing. Want to learn more? Just call Brian Graham, the Mortgage Man, at 260-248-8333, or visit him online at ruoff.com/Brian Graham, and let him help you finance the home of your dreams.
When you're looking for a new home, why not seek the counsel of a friend that happens to know the Indianapolis area housing market better than the back of their hand? Doug and Morgan Lathery and Star Real Estate is a family-owned business that can answer all questions about buying or selling a home. Contact Doug and Morgan with Indy Area Homes, or simply log on to indyareahomes.com to find your new home today.
This is Leslie Marshall from The Leslie Marshall Show. Her weekdays live 3 to 6 p.m. right here on IndianaTalks.com. We know we are outgunned in the Indiana media. That is why Indiana Talks also offers all your favorite progressive voices, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, and Bill Press, along with great Hoosier voices like Charlie White, Liberty Talks, Justin Oakley, Just Let Me Teach, and the TJ Thompson Experience. Indiana Talks. It's talk radio without the Tea Party crazy.
This is The Charlie White Show.
Cities breaking down on a camel's back. They just have to go cause they don't know where. So all you feel the streets is appealing to see. You won't get undercounting cause you're never free. You got a new horizon, it's ephemeral style. A melancholy town where we never smile. And all I wanna hear is the message beep. My dreams they gotta kiss and cause I don't get sleep, no. Windmill for the land, love forever hand in hand. Take it all out on your stride, it is kicking, rolling.
We are back to the Charlie White Show on the Indiana Talks Network. I'm not going to go into this in too great a detail, but there's a few items I want to get back into in the future, but we'll just start with this one. We have here from Howie Politics. There's a tweet I saw this afternoon, and what they were talking about was that, Pence doesn't mind if Lieutenant Governor Sue Elspermann wants to seek this open job at Ivy Tech. Okay. Well, the first question I have, especially since Ivy Tech is supposed to be a state-run school. Oh, here it is here. By Brian Howie. This is on December 21st, 2015. Brian Howie writes, Governor Mike Pence is encouraging Lieutenant Governor Sue Elspermann to apply for the upcoming vacancy of the Ivy Tech presidency. Sources close to Governor Pence told Howie Politics Indiana that Elspermann was approached. She was approached. Yeah, sure. She was approached this summer by a member of the Ivy Tech Board of Trustees to apply for the job of retiring President Tom Snyder. Well, first of all, that's a bunch of... I'm not saying that about Brian Howie, but when people say they're approached for something, typically that means two things. that either means the Pence people want to get rid of her, and they called someone to go reach out to her. They want to get rid of her for some reason for the election next year. So they have one of their people that they probably appointed reach out to Elspermann. That could be one reason. Or if you take a page out of the Godfather Governor, Mitch Daniels' book, you actually want the job and you tell someone to ask you because your ego is just that inflated. And you want to show everyone it's not really your idea, but it's something you want. Now, I mean, I was just reporting what he was told. Okay, I don't blame him for that. Nothing wrong with anything he wrote, but I'm just saying that the subject matter to me is kind of funny because, so if you're Pence, I want to take this from two different angles today. If you're Pence, you might not view Sue Elspermann, and after you've been with her for 4 years, he may view that she doesn't have the ability to raise money for him next year because he's sorely needing money to try to save him from this probably losing cause against whoever the Democrats can end up being, probably be John Gregg, to save him from this probably losing cause. He probably needs someone more dynamic. He probably needs someone smarter to make up for her and for his lack of intelligence, as well as the ability to raise money. And him and there's people probably don't appreciate before he even made an announcement that Sue Elspermann was already running around trying to angle people out, trying to run for governor, trying to raise money to run for governor. And Pence hadn't even announced he was, actually going to run for president. You have your own lieutenant governor, unwisely. I mean, I'm saying objectively, folks, running around, acting like she's running for governor. Then that caused other people like the candy man, Brian Bosma, to run around and act like, to engage in his fantasy of acting like he wants to be governor. So, again, it could be that. Now, it could, or on the flip side, it could very well be that Sue Elspermann knows this is a sinking ship. She's not incredibly excited about running as lieutenant governor candidate with Mike Pence, knowing that she's probably going to lose. And okay, fine. Then she lost with the sitting governor. Then what does she do? Because, folks, remember, before now, what was she known for? Well, she had this weird job working for this buddy of hers who's got this consulting firm that nobody really knows what they did, but somehow she got a pretty good penny from her. Kind of BS consulting, just, calling people in and doing silly feasibility studies that, that's where they really soak government, do BS feasibility studies. So we know that she's got some amorphous, weird little job. And then that came, and of course that came right around the time she was becoming a state. And of course that lady who hired her, then that lady ended up getting the 6-figure salary to be her chief of staff over the lieutenant governor's office. Now, no one deserves a salary that big working for a governor or for a lieutenant governor. You work for government, you don't make 6 figures. But I guess they just have an appetite for it, these so-called fiscal conservatives. Now, the other thing that she did was, of course, she couldn't even figure out how she voted in the 2008 primary. So according to the father of lies and his son, the Prince of Lies, Dan Siegler, prosecutor, and Dan Siegler Jr., his lying deputy prosecutor, they would point at her and say it's perjury. She obviously barked down. She voted in the Republican primary in 2008. Instead, she truly voted in the Democrat primary under that Operation Chaos that Rush Limbaugh was pushing people to do. She obviously forgot or was careless. Well, they could have arrested her and tried her for perjury. I've read it, folks. I've read the election commission minutes of her little hearing where they let her go. But, one of the Democrats on the board says maybe we need to call the prosecutor. They didn't do it because she's just too connected. Or it's just not couth. It's not civilized. She didn't question people like I did. Well, then she gets out with the skin of her teeth on that front. She's able to get that BS job, and as soon as she becomes lieutenant governor, then the person who hired her that paid her money to do what I don't know, this consulting firm. Then when she becomes lieutenant governor, then she hires her old boss, pays her a lot of money. I love the whole flipping back and forth thing. Reminds me of what Mitch Daniels does when he's in and out of public service. I don't know why I called it that with Mitch. It's more like you serve him. So that to me is rather odd. This whole situation's odd. So either the Pence people are trying to unload her and try to find someone new who can probably, and of course their major concern is raising money. They probably need to get someone on their ticket to raise money, a lot of it, that won't do the ticket any damage. On the flip side, or maybe there could be a little bit of both. Or on the flip side, you got Sue Elspermann. Remember, the author of Stellarbrate, who gave out a couple back in 2014, made sure she doled out the lard to the city of Huntingburg as her biggest donor every time she doled out some lard and gave your money away, ripping open envelopes in front of other communities as if this was some kind of a beauty pageant at the state fairgrounds and this was some kind of a way for her to run for governor. I mean, it was sick, using public money to stage these, quote, performances. And boy, would you love to be one of those communities that didn't get a celebration in your community, get these funds from the LG's office, ripping open those envelopes. I mean, it's just a crass way of doing it. And people get to take that long ride that long ride home in their car. But I mean, this is just immature, folks, the way she did that, and the way she took $10,000 here and $5,000 here from her biggest donor. And then, like, literally right after the first big pot of money came in, then she put her famous donor on the Blue Ribbon Road Commission. Well, what a surprise. And after another big pot of money comes in, well, then she hands out a big fat check to Huntingburg. Of course, her biggest donor owns commercial properties, industrial properties all over the city. And I'm sure whatever they spend that money on will somehow benefit him. I mean, it's just a joke. So putting her in another position of authority over public money, I mean, I'm wondering, I don't care what little letters or of the alphabet she has behind her name. All I know is I want to know what she did to deserve to be president of Ivy Tech, beyond the fact that she managed to squeeze her way and kiss butt all the way up to the lieutenant governor spot. She has never done one thing that I could actually point to that I could say I'm impressed with at all on any front. I'm wondering, what is it about her that's so special that she should head up Ivy Tech? Nothing. And frankly, Pampered Pence, if it is in fact true that you want to unload her because you need probably someone who can raise more money than her, whether it's a man or a woman, this is not a fiscally conservative way to do it. You don't say, we got to get rid of her, so let's go ahead and give her a big fat job. That's also a publicly supported job. And she'll spend half her time in her state-supported job hobnobbing with the same old vendors, same old reporters. It's just a crock. So that little thing had to be said. I just had to mention that. And then let's see here. And then we got the next little story here. We got, where was I here? I'm losing track here. Sorry about that, folks. Oh, yes. I'm not going to go into great detail today, but, trust me, we'll go into more detail in the future on this. We have I noticed that Mitch Daniels, the godfather governor, I mean, this reminds me of last year when he got handsomely rewarded, 6-digit bonus, his so-called at-risk salary, which is preposterous. But he looks like he's getting another $210,000. It says here from, Indy This Week on Twitter, 4:04 p.m. on Monday here. It says here that Purdue announces metrics for at Purdue MISC, quote, at-risk salary, $210,000 for 2015-2016. And you see all these metrics across the board. I've always thought this was funny because that's why his base is what it is, because he wants to make his salary look smaller so that you always have to report his smaller salary. And then, and then it says, well, and then bonuses after that, tied to performance. Well, folks, if you look at these metrics about graduation rates, and I mean, they got all these different metrics here, they're so easy to attain. A monkey could do it. You and I could do it. We could sit there. Actually, we would cause less harm because we wouldn't be spending time behind the scenes threatening people, finding ways to blow the people's money to help enrich our friends. We would cause a lot less damage and do the same amount of work. Actually, do a lot more work, true work, and a lot less, mafioso tactics behind the scenes while so-called working on your dime. But he's scooping up another $210,000 this year. Another $210,000 on top of what he's already making. The Godfather Governor, Mitch Daniels. In addition, he's making the money from sitting on the Holman board, which they won't release what they pay their board members. He's making $180,000 a year, sitting on the Interactive Intelligence Board, who he helped handsomely. He helped get them off the ground when he was governor with your money, especially through tax credits and various grants. He used your money to get them off the ground, and they turn around and give him money back as he sits on their board now. So he can just take naps and get on his all-important phone that he can go 2.5 times the speed limit to go back and get. Because he probably has to get on that phone and text and call people and threaten them more times before you wake. He does more threatening before you even wake up in the morning. So, folks, that's what the man running government, I guess running Purdue like a business. I mean, he couldn't possibly just make a couple $100,000 a year. He couldn't possibly do that. He has to make sure he rakes in as much money as the greedy former Godfather Governor Mitch Daniels can get his little mitts on. He loves money, folks. Face it. But what you also have to face, with all the things we've talked about this program, and just today, altering child mortality figures, helping to pay, along with Pence, helping to pay millions to one contractor, Seema Verma, who's conflicted all over the map on helping to pick other vendors who also pay her money, on the glitches in the system which caused overcharging, which he knew about, they knew about, for BMV.